So you have a teenager and you want what's best for them, but sometimes you just don't know what to do. I mean, we've all been there, right? Well, hello everyone, and welcome to How to Be the Parent That Your Teenager Needs You to Be, where with each episode we explore the topics, the issues, the concerns, and the challenges that you face as a parent with a teenager. If your goal is to empower your teenager to be their absolute best, well, you've come to the right place. Well, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the topics of appreciation or gratitude, and just what do you do when your teenager just doesn't seem to appreciate the things that you do for them, or they aren't grateful for the things that you do. So I've got a few suggestions for you, so let's get started. Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Jim White, and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. And today we're going to be talking about the idea of appreciation or gratitude and having your teenager be more appreciative of the things that you do for them. And I've got a great story for you. But before we dive into that, I did have a couple of items that I wanted to touch on. First of all, on behalf of your teenager, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your commitment to being a better parent. It's going to, that having that growth mindset is just going to be critical to getting through these teenage years. And actually, that's one of the fundamental elements of our Family Enrichment Academy membership site. If you're not familiar with our membership site and our community, be sure to check out episode 1 of this YouTube series and the podcast, and it's a little bit of an introduction for you. Now, the second item I wanted to mention is I do have a free resource for you. One of the most common questions I get from parents is that they struggle with their teen not talking to them or opening up. And the secret is to ask better questions. And so what I have 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. Think of these as like conversation killers. And then I've got 10 great questions. These are the conversation starters. And it's a free resource. There's a link in the description below, or you can just go to our website at familyenrichmentacademy.com and be able to download that resource. So be sure to check that out as well. So let's move on to our topic for the day, this idea of appreciation or having your teenager appreciate the things that you do for them. And this actually came up for me, a story. I heard a mother sharing a story about a circumstance that had popped up for her during the holiday season. Her son had asked for a new iPhone, and she felt a little bit of discomfort, I guess is maybe a good word around it, because her thought was she has 2 other teenagers as well. And if she was going to get her son an iPhone, she felt like she needed to get iPhones for the other 2 kids also. And she was a single mother, and it just financially was not possible for her to do that. And so she told her son that he was not going to be getting this iPhone for Christmas, and he just sort of blew up. He yelled. She says that he actually said that "I hate you" to her as he stomped off, slammed the door on his room and just made a big scene out of it. And I'm sure some of you maybe have experienced something like this before. And her thought was, he doesn't appreciate the things that I do for him. And so her question was around that. And as you can imagine, I could just sense that there was a lot of it was frustration, but there's also a sort of disappointment and a little bit of despair. It's like, just what can I do here? She's making an effort and trying to do the best that she can. And her question was, how do I get my teenager to appreciate me or the things that I do? So it's a valid question, right? And so today I've got 3 different suggestions sort of built around this story that I'm going to throw out to you for you to take a look at and maybe incorporate into your engagements with your teenager. So let's start with the first one has to do with you. And I point to this because this mother was clearly upset. Again, I said, frustration, disappointment, despair. I mean, it upset her what had happened, and understandably so. And so this first suggestion I'm going to make is that in order for you, and in this case this mother, to be able to really have an impact and empower or influence her teen, that mother's going to have to regain her composure. She's going to have to let that negative energy and those negative emotions get away and in effect shift her mindset. And she's going to need to move back into more of a love-based mindset so that then she can be there to serve and support and, again, influence and empower her teenager. So the first step in this process is for that mother to go through that mind shift, that mindset shift. And I'm going to throw out a perspective shift that you may think about that could help you get there. And that is that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And it's a subtle distinction, but it can have a huge impact. And the premise is that this scenario can be viewed as like an opportunity. It's an opportunity to build connection. It's an opportunity to teach gratitude and appreciation to her teenager. But we have to make that mind shift. And one of the sort of mottos, if you will, is that you could say it the other way around, life happens for us, not to us. And so have that thought. And then, for the mother, I would suggest, think in terms of compassion and forgiveness. Start to view this circumstance from that perspective as well. And as you feel yourself, if she would feel herself starting to come and be more calm, then the question to ask is, how is this situation a gift? So you're looking for the value here, you're looking for the opportunity, and then that question helps to bring that up. So that's the first thing I would throw out. As a parent, if you've experienced this and you find yourself getting emotionally charged, find a way to regroup, think about compassion, forgiveness, and then ask that question, how is this circumstance a gift? Now, the second thing I would throw out is that the teenager, obviously they were really upset as well, and they are full of negative emotion and highly charged emotions as well. And I've said this before in other videos, and I'll re-say it here. When your teenager's in that highly charged state, they are in no position to take your good advice or be able to accept any influence or empowerment that you might offer to them. And so when you find your teenager in a state like that, your first job is to help them regain their composure. So you can see how these two things are connected. At first the parent has to regain their composure. Now we're going to shift our attention to the teen. And we need to have them regain their composure before we can step into an empowerment mindset. And one of the best ways to do this is just to acknowledge and validate their feelings. And it's pretty simple, but it's amazing the impact it can have. Now, one thing I'll warn you against, and a lot of times this happens when your teen, and I know this has happened for me, the teen has an outburst of some kind. We feel like it's wrong for them to have that outburst, right? And so our response is to, in effect, dismiss their emotions. We tell them they shouldn't feel this way. Well, they do feel this way, right? But when we say they shouldn't feel this way, it dismisses their emotions, which in effect is kind of dismissing them, and it makes them feel unimportant. And so that's where this changing to more of an acknowledgement and validating what's going on with them can be a great way to let them, let that dissipate a little bit. And again, the goal is to provide that safe place. And the mother could simply say something to the effect of, I can tell it's really frustrating to know that you're not going to be able to get that iPhone that you wanted. That's an acknowledgement of what her son is experiencing. Or I know that it makes you really angry when we aren't able to afford the things that you want. Again, you're just acknowledging. And again, when you do that too, it's not that you're agreeing all the time, but it's just that you're acknowledging what's going on for them. So do that. Provide that space for your teen to have those negative emotions dissipate. Now, the third thing I would throw out is, this is where it really becomes an opportunity. It's an opportunity to maybe teach your teenager some resourcefulness and turn this into a teaching moment. And in this example, what I would throw out is the idea of giving the problem back to your teenager. In this case, her son wants an iPhone. Turn that back over to him. Say, well, how can we develop a plan for you to be able to earn the money to get your own iPhone? And so you again shift into more of that empowerment approach and trying to work with them and develop that plan. And it's interesting, in the end, If you can do that, you're teaching your son to be resourceful. You're teaching them to count on themselves a little bit more. And that becomes the gift as opposed to the material item of the phone. And I would assert that that gift, he will appreciate you as a parent for that gift much more than he ever would for some material item that you're going to wrap and put under the Christmas tree. And so the third suggestion here is to, once everybody's regained their composure, you're back in a good place, turn the problem back over to them and work with them to develop a plan to bridge the gap, if you will, take them from where they are to where they want to be. Do that, and you're giving them some great life skills along the way. So anyway, those are the three sort of suggestions that I had for you today. And so the challenge, so my FEA Hero Challenge for you is sometime over the next week or two, you may have this happen, where your son or daughter sort of has one of those outbursts. And then maybe they don't have gratitude or appreciation for something that you feel like they should. If that happens, I invite you to try to follow these steps. First, check yourself, regain your composure. Step 2, go to them, provide that safe place for them to regain their composure. And then the third step, hand that problem over to them and then support them. And the gift that you're going to give them is this gift of resourcefulness. So give that a try, see if you can make your way through that challenge and see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised. So that wraps up today's episode. Again, I want to remind you before we sign off today that I do have those 10 great questions and 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. And it's a free resource. Click the link and go and you can download that. As always, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along your journey as a parent. And I just encourage you to really lean into that role as the hero within your family and that role of making taking a stand for love and the power that love can have within your family. Remember, until next time, a change in perspective changes everything.